Hi, Jimmy here. We all share wins, but today I'm sharing a professional failure. Even the best careers hit a wall when life reminds you you're human. This is the audio version of my editorial, The Death of My Mother Tongue. Link in the description. Let's dive in. And for last, in the world of linguistics, we often speak of acquisition and mastery as if they are trophies to be won and kept on a shelf. But for those of us who live in the narrow, high-pressure corridors between languages, the interpreters, the translators, the computational linguists, language is not a static prize. It is a living, predatory thing. Sometimes, to make room for a new world, it begins to consume the old one. I recently lost a job because I could no longer think quickly enough in Portuguese. For a native speaker, especially one whose career was built on the foundation of the United Nations system and the nuances of simultaneous interpretation, this admission feels like a betrayal of the self. It is a specific kind of professional mourning. The realization that my mother tongue, the language of my first thoughts and my deepest emotions, has become heavy. The erosion of the primary horizon. In linguistics, we call this phenomenon linguistic attrition. It is usually reserved for immigrants who have spent decades away from home. But for a polyglot immersed in a dominant professional language like English, the process is more insidious. My brain, wired for the efficiency required by AI prompt engineering and international discourse, has been re-optimized. When my days are consumed by the syntactic rigor of native-like English and the coaching of global voices, Portuguese is relegated from the language of praxis to the language of reminiscence. English becomes the language of logic, of work, and of the future. Portuguese, meanwhile, has been relegated to the realm of tacit dwelling, the quiet foundational ground of my existence. But dwelling is contemplative and slow. It lacks the tactical, synaptic velocity required by simultaneous interpretation. It is the language of being, whereas the profession demands the language of doing. The cost of the bridge. In a professional setting, especially in high-stakes communication, thinking quickly isn't just about knowing the word. It's about the latency of the neural path. In high-stakes communication, such as simultaneous interpreting, is an exercise in managing the void between thought and expression. When a speaker is mid-sentence and you are interpreting, you aren't just translating words, you are managing cognitive load. For me, that load has become unbalanced, and my current struggle is a failure of this transit. When I reached for the Portuguese equivalent of a complex technical concept, I found myself encountering a buffer that felt like a phantom limb. The English word arrived instantly, sharp and ready. The Portuguese word, however, felt like it was being retrieved from a dusty archive. That 2-millisecond delay, the glitch in my internal hardware, is the difference between a successful interpretation and a professional failure. The sound of a bridge cracking under the weight of its own length. There is a quiet, devastating grief in failing at your own essence. It is a specific kind of heartbreak to stumble over the very sounds that once lulled me to sleep, to feel my own history becoming a locked door I no longer hold the key to. My professional victories, the precision of my AI prompts, the accolades for my scholarship, feel like thin paper dry masks. They are successful in the outer world, but they cannot fill the hollow ache of being rejected by my mother tongue. How can I stand as an authority on language when I am in exile from my own cradle? I feel like a ghost in my own career who can navigate the complex architecture of a foreign logic, but can no longer find the light switch in my own home. It is a heavy, isolating shame. The identity of the polyglot. Losing a job for this reason triggers a profound identity crisis. If I am no longer a quick speaker of my mother tongue, who am I in the professional market? I have spent a career being the bridge between worlds, yet I find myself standing on one side, watching the other shore grow foggy. As someone who navigates GAD and ADHD, I am acutely aware of how bandwidth works. The mental energy required to fight for a language that used to be as natural as breathing is exhausting. It is a cruel irony. I am a member of the Linguistic Society of America, a professor who teaches the discourse approach, and yet I am currently a stranger to the discourse of my own heritage. The third space. This loss is not a defect of intellect, but the inevitable friction of a mind stretched across multiple geographies. I am a speaker of many tongues, a scholar who continues to engage in graduation level training in Portuguese, and a practitioner who understands the mechanics of discourse with intimate rigor. To stumble in speed is not to be a loser. It is to be a specialist who has pushed the boundaries of cognitive capacity until the architecture itself had to shift. I have become so thoroughly a creature of global exchange that I have outgrown the narrow, singular linguistic borders of my origin. This is a metamorphosis that carries a price, but it also confers a unique authority. While the loss of a job is a mourning, it is also an invitation to inhabit a third space. Perhaps my role is no longer to be the lightning-fast conduit for the words of others in real time, but to be the philosopher of the gap itself. I am still a bridge, one fortified by diverse languages and rigorous training, but I am beginning to understand that a bridge's value does not lie in its loyalty to one shore or the other, but in its ability to endure the tension of being suspended between them. Last one, reclaiming the narrative. I am not losing a language. I am refining its utility within a more complex cognitive architecture. The career I am building is a demand for a multi-dimensional depth. I stand on the bridge, not as a casualty of the crossing, but as its architect. Well, this is it for this episode. You can find more info about me and links to everything I do in the description. Until next time.